3 questions. Would you electrocute a total stranger?
Look, he's not around anymore, all right, so I'm just going to make a move, all right? No. Look, honestly.
Would you watch someone steal and do nothing? Would you stay in a building that appears to be on fire just because everyone else does? If your answers were no, think again.
What people say they would do is often a far cry from what they actually do when put in the crucible of human behavior.
The Human Zoo. Find out what you're capable of. In a lifetime, we encounter millions of people and judge them instantly. Every waking minute, we're interpreting the detail of human behavior. A glance, a gesture, a smile. We're all psychologists. We have to be. So you may not be surprised that no one helps this woman. But do you know why they don't? It may not surprise you that children are disobedient.
Could I just ask you to go the other side? Thanks. That's great. Oh, and just be on the apple, it'd be great. Whoop, whoop.
But do you realise how obedient you've become as an adult?
That's great, thanks.
You're here to witness the joining in matrimony of this man.
It may not surprise you that we get flustered.
May not be joined.
For this woman, a witness at a wedding, is bamboozled into marrying the groom.
I now pronounce you man and wife. And they kiss the bride.
I thought something was wrong when I was actually asked to place the ring on his finger.
For this programme, we've secretly filmed hundreds of people to understand how they behave. 12 of them agreed to take part in our most ambitious experiment, but they didn't know the whole story. The house they were living in was bristling with hidden cameras. They started off as one big happy family.
I don't think we've been treated well.
So why did they turn against each other?
Excuse me. Sorry,
What drove this woman to tears?
I've just been talking to her and...
Why did simmering tension boil over into aggression?
I said to you, Julie, you seem really fucked up and pissed off.
How did the meekest woman in the group become the most domineering?
We won at the end, and now they've got to have a forfeit. Great. Yes! Yes, yes, yes!
How many people want beers?
And what was this man trying to prove?
He's closing it up so we don't know that he's just stolen.
About 10 cans.
I don't know who stole that beer, to be honest with you. I just don't know how that got there.
Tonight's programme is about how we try to influence what other people think of us. The importance of first impressions.
I've dunked it now, someone might as well have it. Here, have it.
And what happens when we get it wrong. How the slightest thing can trip us up.
And there were these black hairs curling out of her tights. I couldn't employ her.
And how closely we watch each other.
Are you lying to me right now?
Not at all.
In our everyday lives, it all happens in the blink of an eye. We hardly notice it. To see it in detail requires laboratory conditions. So we had to build a human zoo. We chose one of the most isolated spots in Britain, Wastwater in Cumbria. 12 complete strangers, carefully selected from around the country, would live together in this hostel. They'd be invited to take part in a program about human behavior, and they'd be completely cut off so we could control their world. To observe them behaving naturally, we were going to have to film them secretly and get their permission to use the footage once we came clean. We want to watch them meet for the first time, for example, to find out more about first impressions. So although we'll be putting them in the hands of these instructors while they go off doing outdoor activities, we're just as interested in what they say and do back at the house. We needed to see everyone, everywhere, all the time. So we started rigging. Hundreds of people apply to be participants in our human zoo, a cross-section of different walks of life and different personality types. We whittled them down to 12. And before they met, we showed them photographs of each other and asked them to make judgments based solely on physical appearance.
He looks a bit like a pit bull terrier. He looks a hard bloke, not the sort of bloke you want to mess about with.
Quite a funny person.
Really, he looks a bit like a mummy's boy, to be honest with you.
Possibly a bit stuck up, maybe.
He looks like a chef, I don't know why.
I can imagine she's quite intelligent.
He just looks too snooty for me. Looks a bit of a snob.
Athletic, quite intelligent, reasonably healthy. I think he could be quite a big challenge, actually.
Divorcee, couple of kids.
She looks a bit like a lesbian.
Construction of our human zoo is almost complete. 2 miles of cable will be carrying pictures and sound from 15 hidden cameras and 15 concealed microphones into a secret control room. There, 2 eminent psychologists will be able to scrutinize anything that moves on banks of monitors. Professor Phil Zimbardo is the world's leading expert in groundbreaking psychology experiments, and his colleague, Dr. Mark McDermott, is one of Britain's top social psychologists.
We are about to see a practical experiment unfold. We're going to observe what happens when we put real people in a field experiment. We're interested in things like cooperation and competition. We're interested in group dynamics, how leaders emerge, how rules can come to control people. We're interested as much in the phenomena of dictatorships as we are in democracy. But really what we learn from this is what people say they would do is often a far cry from what they actually do when put in the crucible of human behavior. And that's really what counts, is understanding what people actually do, not what they imagine they would do.
After 6 months of planning, it's now a few minutes to 12 on Friday, the 19th of November, and we're ready for our first participant to walk down this path. But before we watch 12 strangers meet and size each other up, we want to learn more about first impressions. How are they formed, and how long does it take? It's a big day for these 3 women. They're competing for a secretarial job starting Monday morning, and we've been allowed in to film their interviews. They've got 15 minutes each to prove their worth. Or have they? We're about to find out how long it really takes to make a lasting impression. The candidates will be facing Judy Fisher, a recruitment consultant with 30 years' experience. We've given her this dial, which is connected to our control room, hidden away in an adjoining office. There, we're effectively going to read Judy's mind. This machine will make a trace of her thought processes. If Judy's impressed, she'll turn her dial up. That will produce a trace high on the screen. If she's underwhelmed, she'll turn it down, and the trace will sink. Everything will be scrutinized by occupational psychologist Terry Kellard.
Bridget. Hi. Hello, I'm Judy Fisher. Thanks for coming along and being prepared to do this. We're going to talk first of all, Bridget, a little bit about what you've done and about what you're looking for. Then I'm going to tell you a bit more about the job and we can take it from there.
Great.
OK? Yeah.
Bridget's been sitting down for just 12 seconds and said all of 5 words. But her trace has immediately gone up from an average reading of 0 to an impressive 56.
Let's just start with, I've got your CV here.
Clearly she's got a positive impression. That's the most important bit of the interview. That would have been based on what she looks like. She looks like a PA.
Yeah, I like that, and I'm good at that, and I'm efficient and fast, and I do as much of making sure everything's in order as possible.
The trace remains high right till the end, finishing at nearly 100. Bridget's prospects look good.